The essential things are invisible. Open up your ears. Animals haven't yet revealed the secrets of all the ways they communicate through sound. All around the world, researchers and specialists in bioacoustics are trying to decode the secret languages of animals. Searching for both sound and meaning. Let's plunge with them into the extraordinary universe of the sounds of nature. Birds don't just sing to make pretty music. Thanks to bioacoustics, we're starting to understand what they're saying. Little by little, the mystery's being solved. The Loire, France's longest river, is the proud home to many treasures of biodiversity. On its many little islands, you'll find both land and sea birds. Boris Jollivet is an audio naturalist. He's both an artist and a nature specialist. He records the sounds produced by animals both large and small, as well as all kinds of natural sounds. The wind, the waves, the sounds of the ice, or the gurgling of the rising sap in springtime. He's building a unique and exceptional bank of sounds, one that enriches our knowledge of the living world. In spring, along the banks of the Loire, the birds are at their busiest. It's the perfect time to collect a multitude of sounds. Seagulls and terns have already come upriver to build their colonies. The turtle doves are arriving from Africa. The frogs are warming up. And the insects coming back to life. Everyone's ready for spring.
It's a classic, really, the nightingale. When it comes to the musicality of birdsong, it's still one of the best known. and it's inspired a great many composers, great composers. The magical thing about the nightingale is that when we listen to it already, it's very beautiful. But then it doesn't just sing during the day, you can hear it at night too. It's one of the few daytime birds that will also sing in the middle of the night, and it really stands out for anybody who's listening.
A musical piece by Claude Debussy directly refers to the organ that's at the origin of song in birds, the syrinx. Located at the bottom of the trachea, it has two cavities, which, used simultaneously, allow it to produce by vibration sounds of great complexity. The syrinx varies in its sophistication depending on the species and the sex of the bird. It's often highly evolved in the males, who are better singers. In parrots, the muscles that make the syrinx vibrate are very developed. This little bird that can run so fast is called the plover. It nests on gravel banks at the water's edge, and the Loire is one of its favorite haunts. Boris Jollivet is on lookout duty and wants to record its song, which is not always as simple as it sounds.
I often find myself recording blind, as it were. That has both advantages and disadvantages. All I care about is getting the sound, and if I can't see, then I really concentrate on the sound. Obviously, sometimes you'd like to be able to see, if only to get an idea of their behavior.
But perseverance furthers, and the plover finally makes itself heard. But collecting these sounds requires not just perseverance, but discretion as well, and a lot of experience.
I've just had a little look around the island. I love the evening.
In the evening at dusk, and in the morning at dawn, conditions are ideal for sound to travel. There's not so much warm air in the atmosphere to slow down the ambient sound. You can hear further. The birds know it, and they sing all the louder. When they live in colonies out of necessity, birds communicate in a more social way. Group life and its constraints call for listening and exchange. In South Africa, off Port Elizabeth, on a small island called Bird Island, lives the largest community of Cape Gannets. From October to April, more than 200,000 of them come to this small piece of land to breed. It's a protected area where only penguins and a few scientists can disturb the 90,000 breeding pairs. For 4 or 5 months, both males and females see to the education and feeding of the chick, taking it in turns to hunt and to babysit. For the Cape Gannets, the couple's bonds last a lifetime. But the vital balance of their community is now in peril. Classified in 2017 as an endangered species, they're threatened by a shortage of fish due to overfishing. For Andrea Thibault and her team, understanding how these animals live and communicate is an urgent matter if they're to protect them from this threat. The oceanographer uses bioacoustics as an analytical tool. Using a mini camera and a microphone, she deciphers the seabirds' behavior patterns and their sound communication. She has identified different types of calls and behavior. Cries of individual recognition, postures of conflict or of easing tensions, mating postures, and many more.
03
But above all, she's interested in their strategies for finding food.
Imagine you're a bird and you're out at sea. It's all wide open skies because these birds can travel 400 or 500 kilometers in a day. So they're out there in vast areas. They have to find fish, but the fish are constantly on the move, never in the same place. Just imagine if your supermarket changed place every day. How would you know where the fish was?
The Cape gannets have to cooperate in order to find fish. They use sound communication to coordinate their efforts. They use a long cry as a departure signal so that they can form a small hunting party. The search can now begin. In flight, they have a field of vision of up to 30 kilometers. They scrutinize the movements of other groups of birds and of their occasional allies, the dolphins. When they arrive at the site, they form a raiding party of up to 150 individuals. The dive-bombing ballet can then begin. Their hunting technique is impressive. They dive like kamikazes. Maybe that's where their local nickname of mad geese comes from. They soar to more than 30 meters up to smash into the water at nearly 110 kilometers an hour. The shockwave this makes will knock out the fish, which are then easy prey for the birds to snap up. In all the deafening din, the gannets use several different sound signals. Collecting data in a marine environment is so difficult that up till now, those sounds have been impossible to pick out. But Andrea Thibault has developed an original technique to successfully record sounds at sea. Her assistant, Makabongwe Sigwekala, captures adult gannets before they go hunting and attaches to their tail a mini camera equipped with a microphone.
It's trying to regurgitate.
The cameras link to a GPS to map the bird's journey as it searches for food. By closely following the birds like this, Andrea has discovered a type of vocalization that was hitherto unknown. In the thick of all the excitement and frenzy, just before diving, the gannet emits a powerful cry, like a kind of klaxon. It's saying, "Look out, I'm going for it." This cry serves to limit the risk of collisions. And at 110 kilometers per hour, a collision is inevitably fatal. But it might also be to launch a group attack. It may well mean, come on guys, let's go. To synchronize their dives and catch more fish. A real team effort. After 24 or 48 hours on the wing, having caught 6 or 7 fish, the gannet returns to Bird Island.
When a bird comes back, it will fly around the area where it's nesting several times. As it flies over the nest, it cries out. It does that 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and eventually its partner on the nest will answer. So then it lands and there's a display. So they certainly recognize each other vocally.
The youngsters get the message too, and if they're off somewhere, they get back to their parents as quick as they can. Once the family's reunited, Andrea hurries to the nest to retrieve her camera and the data it has recorded. There then follows the long process of analysis and study of the statistics to understand how the birds interact vocally. Andrea's understanding of the collective functioning of this huge colony of Cape gannets is gradually advancing. Part of the secret of the success of their community life is their mastery of simple and effective communication. For other more solitary bird species with complex and refined song patterns, studies are revealing the incredible extent of their vocabulary. In the temperate regions of Europe, the robin is a common sight. You can hear it singing out in the woods and in your garden. It's a highly territorial bird, one that seems quite tame and curious. It will approach as soon as it spots an intruder, thus revealing its true nature. For its inoffensive air, in fact, conceals a true warrior, ready to defend its territory fiercely. It shows off its red breastplate and emits spectacular chants to scare away any assailant.
You think there's one in this robin territory?
Yeah, there's one there. There, a bit further on.
Thierry Aubin and his assistant Cloris Maury have been researching the robin's bioacoustics, which have hardly been studied until now.
So we're going to put it...
We'll put it here.
Here.
Thierry Aubin is one of the pioneers of bioacoustics, an internationally recognized expert. He's particularly interested in robins, as they're one of the few species in temperate climes in which both the male and female sing.
This species is unusual in that the female sings. And what's more, in the winter she maintains a separate territory from the male. We'd like to know what the function of her song is, and that's why we broadcast the female songs to both males and females, to understand their function, to see the birds' reactions to them.
They know the habits of this commonplace animal. It's easy to observe, and its reaction to the sounds it hears is impressive.
Okay, you can start playing it.
RG47, and it's on. That's it. There, he's coming.
Where is he?
Right over there. He took 2 seconds to respond.
We can see his tag clearly. And he's there, showing us that he's not happy at all, that there's an intruder on his territory.
In addition to observing them, Clarisse also records the redbreasts. She's building a database to map the acoustic structure of their songs. Back in their laboratory, the scientists will analyze by computer the songs recorded in the field.
So let's turn on the robin songs. You'll notice that this song is made up of short sound sequences. We call them syllables, short units that vary in frequency. There's a silence, then another short unit, another syllable, and another syllable. So we know that in bird song there's a lot of information, and that information is saying, I am a robin. And it's saying, I belong to this community or that group. It's what we call a dialect, just like for humans. And there's information identifying itself. And finally, there's one last piece of information. There may be others, but in any case, we know there's also their state of being, as in, I'm very upset, not happy at the moment, etc.
The amount of information contained in a robin's song is amazing. But how is this ability transmitted? Much research has shown that for most birds, communication calls are innate, transmitted by genetics. On the other hand, for songbirds of the passerine family, the robin, the blackbird, the tit, the chaffinch, singing has to be learned. It's taught by a teacher, usually the male. In order to communicate with their fellows, birds need proper social interaction at an early age. Some birds sing to their eggs, so they start learning as early as possible.
If, for example, you take a robin's egg, isolate it, take care of it, put it in an incubator and raise the little one, then when the individual is grown, it will never be able to sing like a robin, because it never learned. And the experiment showed that for different songbird species, the chaffinch, the robin, and others, if you perform the same experiment of isolating an egg, but you broadcast the song of the species over a loudspeaker, the bird will later be able to sing it perfectly. Of course, you can play something else from another species, and he'll sing the song of the other species. That's not very good for him, because the females will see a rather significant morphological difference. There will be the right song, but not the right appearance. So those poor birds won't be able to get any females.
For the passerines, singing is the result of learning. In fact, a very important area of their brain is dedicated to it. In early winter, when they sing less, the brain size of these birds decreases sharply. In the spring, during the breeding period, when they need to sing to protect their territory and find a female, the brain regains its maximum size. The observation by scientists of this phenomenon opens up whole new avenues, especially in neuroscience. Songbirds combine intent with beauty and communication with charm. Other less visible and less audible animals are nevertheless exciting subjects of study. In a wild region of South Africa, some evolutionary biologists are interested in the only listed flying mammal, of which there are more than 1,000 different species. Superstition has portrayed it as a mysterious creature, and it's one that's both feared and misunderstood. To find its habitat, two scientists have to go to a place far removed from the bustle of everyday life, a place called Guano Cave. It's home to almost 250,000 bats of 5 different species, which coexist without difficulty. Before the place became a sanctuary for bats, men used to extract guano, a fertilizing substance composed of the feces of this flying mammal. Anna Bastian and David Jacobs, bioacousticians from the University of Cape Town, navigate the meanderings of the cave by means of a red light specially designed to avoid disturbing the bats. For several years, they've been recording the different types of communications used by the mammals. Having evolved throughout time in the darkness of their habitat, or out at night to hunt, bats have developed a very special system of acoustic vision called echolocation.
So what you can nicely see in this bat, I think, is that this is one that echolocates. So emits echolocation calls through its mouth, whereas other bats actually emit echolocation calls through the nostrils. So you can see the bat opening its mouth widely. It's not only because it wants to fight back and bite, but it's also because it's actually emitting echolocation calls that are not audible to us. Now, for example, it will emit echolocation calls so high in frequency that we can't hear it. There it goes.
Echolocation works like a sonar system based on the production of ultrasound. The bat emits through the larynx or nose a very high frequency sound inaudible to the human ear. When the ultrasound encounters an obstacle, it bounces back towards the bat's ears. His brain then calculates the distance, speed, and shape of the detected object, and all this in a split second. This highly sophisticated system allows bats to move freely in the dark, but also to locate their prey. In the animal kingdom, it's a system that's used only by cetaceans and bats.
The echolocation that bats use so effectively, that's just an elaboration of the mammalian auditory system, the mammalian ears, and of course the vocal cords, right? To be able to emit such high frequency sounds. It's all the same structure that over evolutionary history have just been elaborated until you've got something as unique as bats.
The scientists are equipped with a device that transforms ultrasound into frequencies audible by man, an echometer. With its help, they can decipher and record the vocalizations in order to identify and list the different species present in the caves.
And do you think this is a nursing colony? So do you think there are newborns in here as well?
I would expect, but the newborns are probably not that newborn. They're probably born in October, November. So they'll be a few weeks old.
The bats also emit sounds that are audible to man.
These kind of sounds that you can hear that are these squeaky sounds are usually kind of distress or aggression calls. It's kind of they hang in a cluster, and whenever they shift their position and the other bats might not agree with the neighbor being so close or taking the best spot in that cluster, which is in the center to heat up, then they might vocalize their disagreement with that by using those kind of aggression or distress calls.
Other calls have been noted too. Family recognition, the alarm cry, and a brand new one that's just been revealed.
Just recently there was a bat observed here in Africa that actually sings. So the male sings for the females. They go to certain spots during the night and they sing an elaborate song similar to bird song, specifically to attract females to come and visit them and potentially mate with them.
If the recordings are slowed down, the song becomes audible, and you can hear how similar it is to a songbird's.
Are we getting something?
It's echolocating, yeah.
Okay. I'm also recording.
There's a new mammal to add to the list of animals that sing. As they make their way through the caves, tunnels and grottos, the two bat enthusiasts observe how the colonies change location. The bats are responding to climate change and adapting their behavior by nesting deeper and deeper in the caves. It's a change that alters the temperature and humidity, which disturbs the circulation of sound waves and affects the bat's echolocation. In the repertoire of sounds inaudible to man, in addition to the very high frequencies, a new means of animal communication has been discovered: infrasound, or ultra-low frequencies. One of the most spectacular displays in the world of birds is that of the peacock. Venerated from India to the Americas for its incredible beauty, the peacock has long kept a secret that no one could either see or hear. It took the inspiration of one bioacoustician to discover that incredible secret. James Hare is a professor of biology and a researcher at the University of Manitoba, Canada. Thanks to his audacity and his sense of observation, he came up with an astonishing theory about the most well-known behavior of the peacock.
There are so many, historically misbeliefs about animals. it was once thought that geese didn't migrate, but rather they changed into barnacles, right? And overwintered as barnacles, right? This is going way back. But, there are so many misconceptions. And of course, the more we do research on animals, the more we discover. And we find new things all the time that we, may have seemed stranger than fiction initially. And we find out by collecting data and by keeping an open mind as to the possibilities, what animals are actually doing in terms of their behavior.
The peacock's best known behavior is, of course, its tail display. When a male fans out his shimmering feathers, each measuring up to 1.5 meters, it's a magnificent spectacle. Their myriad of eyes are a treat for passers-by, but above all, they attract females. And those females are impressed by the look, but also by the sound. And therein lies the mystery of the peacock. Because when it spreads its tail, it creates a sound inaudible to the human ear, composed of ultra-low frequencies. With the movement of its feathers, it produces frequencies of around 6 hertz at an incredible strength of 115 decibels, as strong as a train. Or even a heavy rock band.
And it makes perfect sense in their natural habitat because they live in, forested areas. There'd be a lot of cover. And of course, low frequency sound travels great distances without, appreciable attenuation. So it could be heard over great distances. So if a male is displaying, it can be heard by other males, and that territory may then be respected. It also serves to attract females over great distances.
This secret call of the peacock would therefore be a way to signal its location to other peacocks without alerting predators. First, a lot of recordings were made. Then they were broadcast in experiments on both males and females to observe their behavioral responses. With these experiments, we made another discovery. The crest on a peacock's head works like an antenna. It vibrates at the same frequency as the infra-bass sounds and allows the birds to capture the secret call of the males in rut. It was a discovery so surprising that it generated a lot of skepticism. Now, though, the scientific community is convinced. Thanks to bioacoustics, the peacock's tail has revealed a new aspect of its incredible richness, both visual and acoustic. The peacock isn't the only bird to produce sounds without vocalizing. The stork clacks its beak during mating rituals. The woodpecker marks its territory by banging away at a tree trunk. The grouse uses a drum solo to attract the female. In nature, most sounds have a specific function. Even silence can be an interesting object of study for bioacousticians. at dawn in the Ossau Valley in the heart of the Pyrenees. We find Boris Jollivet, our audio naturalist, just waking up. After a day of fruitless walking and waiting, he's hoping his efforts will at last be rewarded. He wants to record that most silent of raptors, the tawny vulture. More than 200 pairs of these scavengers nest in the cliffs of Escudié. It's the largest colony in the Pyrenees. To get the best recordings of the vultures, Boris places himself above an upstream hot air current.
You can see the air current go up and straight back down again.
Using his favorite instrument, an assembly of 4 microphones arranged to record through 360 degrees, he's trying to capture as realistically as possible the sound of a wild vulture's flight. A short wait. Then the first groups finally appear. The ballet can begin.
What I'm hoping for here with the vultures is really to succeed in capturing the noise produced by the wings. This vibration, this swishing sound that I find very beautiful, very aesthetic, and that's difficult to capture. Perhaps we'll also learn something new or even manage to record cries or calls. In every session, something new could happen or be discovered. And I can see here how useful the dish is. I can really aim at them and follow them by aiming at them to get the best possible sound.
Today, for Boris, it's not just about capturing a cry of communication. He wants to actually catch the sound of the vulture's feathers slicing through the air. It's a tiny sound and difficult to isolate, but one that will tell us a lot about the structure of this bird's feathers. Recent studies have shown that there are fundamental differences between the feathers of daytime raptors and nocturnal ones. What happens if you compare the flight of a hooded vulture to that of a barn owl or a horned owl?
Action.
Simon Potier, a sensory ecology researcher, is studying how birds perceive their environment in order to improve conservation programs. He conducts experiments to compare day and night hunters.
The first experiment involves having a bird fly over the microphones, and we examine the sound signal made by a nocturnal bird and a daytime bird.
Action.
The barn owl is light and silent. Its flight is almost inaudible. How about the hooded vulture? It's clearly noisier, but not only because of its larger wingspan. The noise it makes comes from the rigidity of its feathers. A second, much more visual experiment involves flying raptors over a carpet of down. When a nocturnal raptor flies over, very few feathers are disturbed. The current of air the owl makes isn't at all strong. The vulture, however, displaces a lot of air and really makes the feathers fly.
So the difference between nocturnal and daytime birds, for nocturnal raptors at least, is in the texture of their feathers. Firstly, the feathers of nocturnal raptors are very supple, and they're fluffy. And finally, the last thing that's very important is that the feathers are finely combed, and that lets a little air pass through, which means there's less friction with the air, so there's a lot less sound produced.
In the dark of night, thanks to their silent flight, nocturnal raptors can surprise their prey. Hearing also plays a key role for these birds whose vision is not very good.
Here, these two little feathers on the head are the crest, not the ears. The ears in nocturnal raptors are canals, a hole on either side of the face. And these ear canals are asymmetrical. One of them is located higher than the other. And since they're asymmetrical, the higher one will listen downwards and the lower one will listen upwards. And because of this, they can swoop right onto their prey without even seeing it. In fact, we know there's an owl called the great gray owl, which can catch its prey under more than 15 centimeters of snow. So obviously it can't see it, but it can hear it. And thanks to its asymmetrical ducts, it can swoop right onto it.
Stealth and sharp hearing aren't necessarily among the main qualities of a vulture, but its rigid feathers make its glide one of the most majestic you'll see. It's a sight you'll never forget.
That's why I do this work too. I just love to see animals in the wild, especially big animals like that so close up. It's really amazing. It's a fabulous spectacle.
Bioacoustics open up exciting perspectives on both animals' behavior and their understanding of language. By studying them, researchers and enthusiasts give us the keys to understanding a world that for too long we've known too little about. They give us the opportunity to hear the world around us with a fresh ear. From now on, you'll never hear the birds singing the same way.